Hi, I'm Rebecca Froley, Deputy Web Editor at computerweekly.com, and I'm here at the Epsom offices of Kroll on Track UK to find out whether or not they've been able to recover the data from the drives that James destroyed. So let's see how they've got on. Robert Winter, Chief Engineer at Kroll on Track, took us on a tour of the labs and told us about some of the more unusual jobs from which they've successfully recovered data.
From my recollection, the most unusual one I'd seen for quite a few years was a customer had an external USB hard drive, and he'd gone away on holiday, and when he came back, that he could see that there were lots of ants going around the hard drive, and what had happened was the ants had made a nest inside the case of the USB hard drive. So there was lots of eggs, lots of residue in there, and we were sent that for recovery.
And did you successfully recover the data from
Yes. The actual hard drive inside was almost undamaged. So yes, it was just seeing all the ants running around, which was, we weren't expecting anything like that.
Robert introduced us to Pedro, the senior cleanroom engineer who recovered the data from our hard drives. So Pedro, were you able to tell what we might have done to the machines that we sent you?
Yeah, two of them it was really obvious. So this one you can see, the squashed one, looks like you've driven a tank over it or something. I'm not sure what you've done to it, but...
it was a fire engine, in fact.
Was it a fire engine? That's a good effort. Yeah, so this one was pretty obvious. The second one as well was pretty crispy. So that, again, that was obvious. It was just fire damage.
Absolutely, yeah.
Third one wasn't so obvious. Normally, when we see water damage, because we found that this was water damage, normally we see some kind of residue on the outside, but this one there wasn't. So it required a little bit more looking into to see what actually gone wrong with it.
I think James actually poured some whiskey in it and then mixed it with the water and washed it in the sink. So.
Nice, nice. Yeah. We've seen all sorts like that. Yeah. Usually they're submerged, like in seawater or river water or anything like that. So, yeah.
And so, what kind of process did you go through in order to try and recover the data?
Okay, the first thing we do is we take the drives out from the machines, obviously, and then we do a kind of visual inspection of the drives. So we check to see whether there's any external damage, whether there's anything obviously wrong with it. So we check to see if there's any damage to like the electronics, or whether there's any possible infiltration into the disc itself, or whether there's any damage to the chassis. The most obvious one is this one, which you can see the chassis is kind of bent. So that's pretty obvious what's wrong with this one. Then from there we then look at the electronics on each of the boards, and we check to see if there's any damage to the electronics. So we look at these under the microscope, we check connections, and we repair things wherever we need to. After that, we open up the drives and check the internals. So we check to see if there's any residue on the platters, we then clean them, we check the heads. So that's it basically.
And which was the most challenging out of the three we presented you with?
There were two actually. One of them was the fire damage one, because there was a lot of smoke damage to the board, and obviously some damage to the internals as well.
Blackened in places as well,
due to the heat. And the second one was the one with the bent chassis.
Crushed,
Both of these were quite big jobs.
So you're going to give me how much of the data you've recovered?
100% of the data. We've got everything back for you.
Thank you very much. So James, we've got 100% of the data back from all three computers, despite your best efforts. Here it is, and it'll be back in the office shortly.